Hi, everybody who's on the line. We are going to get started in just 1 minute. I appreciate you being here. We will start in just 1 minute. Thanks. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody who is just logging in. And for those of you who have been logged in for a few minutes already, my name is Michelle Arujo. I'm with Newton, and you are here for one of our advanced seminars, which means that you probably have already done the basic training and know how to do your applications and submit them to lenders and do all of that fun stuff as far as submitting and approving and funding your deals. We're talking about the next level of data at this point in time. So we're talking about all the things you can do with active and passive CRM, what the difference is, and what the best way is to make everything work uniquely for you, because everybody has their own style and their own communication preferences. And so what the point of today's seminar is just to let you know what you have the ability to do using Velocity and give you some ideas on ways you might want to start turning on some of your CRM functionality. So let's dig right in and have a look. One of the reasons that we were inspired to do this seminar is because we were brainstorming and we thought, what do companies who do really, really well have in common? And the thing that they have in common is that they do things consistently. So you want to sort of come up with your plan, whether or not your client is giving you a $20,000 mortgage or a $2 million mortgage, by using the same tools and having the exact same process for all of your clients, it just kind of helps you to get consistent results and to make sure that nothing ever gets missed and to get more, likes and happy clients at the end of the day by not having so many moving parts that can be forgotten. So let me jump in and show you what I'm talking about here. When we talk about our two types of CRM in Velocity, active and passive CRM, one of them is the typical CRM that you are probably already used to, which is things in CRM like send a birthday card or send a holiday greeting in December or send a letter out that says your maturity date is coming up 6 months from now. And we do all that, of course, that we do all that stuff. But we also have active CRM, which is what we call the workflows in Velocity. And then we have our passive CRM. So you set it, you forget it, you never have to think about it again. You know that your 6 months before maturity dates, all of your people will get an email reminding them that they're coming up for renewal. When it comes to using your active, which is your workflows, it's where everything sort of comes together and joins together and makes it so you're not only communicating over email, you're also getting involved in some stages as well. Okay, so let's show you the difference, right? So number one, if I am going to turn on CRM campaigns, I'm going to turn on a CRM campaign that is for all of my new applications. So as soon as I get a new application entered into Velocity, whether I created it from scratch or it came in from my client who applied online. I hope you know where to find your online link so that your clients are applying online whenever possible. So this is an example of a campaign. It is a passive campaign, meaning you set it, you forget it, and it turns on the minute an application is entered. It doesn't matter if it's a pre-approval, it doesn't matter if it's a refi, it doesn't matter if it's an equity takeout. You can get that specific, but this is sort of like my new deals campaign. Anytime I have a new deal come into Velocity or created in Velocity, 0 days from that date, or maybe the next day or whatever makes more sense to you, this campaign kicks in and it sends a note out to my client that says, hey, I got your deal. Thank you so much for trusting me with your mortgage needs. I'll get back to you if I have any questions. We're working on it. it can say really anything you want it to say. Mine here looks like it's not quite packaged up. It's missing an image at the top. So you get the idea. It would say, you know, recipient first name. So it would say Jane or David or John. Thanks for trusting me with your home financing. Please contact such and such if, you know, or whatever. It could say anything you want. The point is that this is one of the examples of how you could use the passive CRM to start communicating with your client as soon as their deal comes in. So you're establishing a communication line with people right away. And then even you could have it so that like 2 days later or 3 days later, you send a follow-up message that says, hey, so this is what you can expect. This is what's going to happen next, or this is what the next steps are as you're going through the mortgage process with me. You know, we'll receive documents from you, and then we'll get an approval for you. And you can even take it further if you like. You could even say, you know, step 4 is we'll verify all your information. Step 5, you'll talk to a lawyer. This could say anything that you want, really. So that's one example of a passive CRM. You set it up, you forget it. Every single time from now on that you get a new application, the application will trigger the new deals campaign. I have some brokers who have a campaign that says, hey, your deal has been submitted. So this is slightly different. It works on the same premise. So in this case, it's this only applies to my real deals. Now I've kind of separated out a little bit now. It doesn't go to my pre-approvals. As soon as my real deals are submitted, then this campaign kicks in. And the first message says, the first message says your deal is now with a lender. I have to package this one up a little bit nicer, but we hope to have an update for you in the next 48 hours. And then and then later on, we have 2 days later or 1 day later saying, hey, we're still waiting. I just wanted you to know that we're still waiting. And, you know, I haven't forgotten about you or whatever. It can say anything that you want. So I generally advise my clients, think about all of the different stages of the mortgage life cycle and what kind of pieces of communication would you be happy to automate. So I've got, every time I have a lead entered into Velocity, I always make sure that I turn on my lead campaign is activated. So I don't have to actually do anything. It turns on automatically. As soon as I enter a lead into Velocity, I send them this little message saying, oh, I'm so glad that you're, you know, it would be great to work with you. I would love to have you as a client. This is why you should work with me. You know, maybe 7 days later, you talk to them about locking in their rate, and, you know, you can decide what the timing looks like on any of these. The best part of these set it and forget it passive campaigns is that when this lead becomes a contact, or when this lead actually becomes an application, automatically any additional drip marketing pieces that are part of this campaign will stop automatically. So you don't have to worry when this person actually says, okay, you know what, you've got me interested. I'm going to submit an application, see how much I can get approved for. You don't have to worry about 3 days later a message going up that says, hey, the next thing we should do is get you pre-approved, because that would be a little bit embarrassing. The CRM campaigns in Velocity are really great because as soon as this trigger changes, so the lead entry, you know, the lead stops as soon as it's a real deal. The submitted campaign stops as soon as the deal is approved. The approved campaign stops as soon as the deal moves to the next stage, and so on. So think about, you may have some sort of happy medium in there on the pieces that you're happy to automate. The waiting to close campaign can kick in as soon as you say that all lender conditions are met. So those are your passive campaigns. Now, somewhere in the middle is where you're going to probably fall. Maybe 2 of those pieces you're happy to automate. Maybe the thanks for the new application and the your deal has been submitted. Maybe those 2, but maybe when the approval comes back, you would rather do that communication in person. And that's where your active CRM comes in. So when it comes to your workflows, these are the pieces that you're like, okay, I do like the idea that it's something that happens, it's based on a trigger, and I can decide what that trigger is. So when you're creating a workflow, this would be something that you say, okay, so this is my approved deal workflow item. This is my active campaign. It only works for my real deals, not for my, and actually it could work for both. You could say, even if it's a pre-approval or a real deal, I want to call the customer every time I have an approval for them so I can answer all their questions live. You could have a workflow that is specific to a port or specific to a refi. And then what is the trigger? So in this case here, it would be the minute that that deal is approved, 0 days from, so that would basically be within the hour. And I want this to go to me. It goes in my list of things to do, or it could go to my assistant or my associate, or it could go to both of us. So, and then the other option is it could go to someone totally different at the office. So maybe it's like you offer life insurance and it goes to a completely different user at that point in time. So you decide who gets the reminder for any of these items. Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Are you going to remind yourself to send a text message? And if it is a phone call or an email, you can put your basic script in here so that you know what it is that you wanted to say, or if it's an email, you could actually package up the whole email. You can add images, you can add links. If you're familiar with HTML, you can even use the HTML source code there. And then basically the last thing you have to do is you have to activate this workflow item. So what does that mean? Okay, so let's see how this turns out in real time. I'll jump into my calendar. So what it means is that every time a new deal comes into Velocity, I don't have to do anything at all. Automatically, my CRM campaign is sending out a note saying, hey, I got your new application. Thanks so much for trusting me. The next step is when I submit the application, again, my automatic CRM is sending out a message that says, your deal has been submitted. We hope to have news for you in the next 48 hours. The next thing that happens is as soon as my deal is approved, an item will show up in my calendar, and also it will show up in my task list, and it will basically say deal approved email or deal approved phone call. I think I might even have a few in there. Status approved text. There you go. That's a perfect example there. So they come up in your list of things to do. They also come up in your calendar, so you'll be able to see, for example, here I've got this one that says, this one is called the new workflow. And so number one, we send a thank you. Number two, it can be whatever you want it to be. So these are completely customizable. And they basically help to keep you on top of every little thing. Send flowers for a deal that's funded, as another example. Or, the deal was referred over. So make sure that you contact the referral source and let them know that their deal. And you can have the phone number in there for the flower shop. You could even click on the deal and see the details of the application and see exactly where things are at. So having an active CRM is great as well, because not everything that you communicate with your client, you want to be automated via email. You want some things to be personal as well. So I certainly recommend I think there's a happy medium in there where a few things I'm happy to automate. The others I put into my assistant's calendar or my associate's calendar. Some things go into my calendar and some things go to the receptionist, and she handles those little pieces there. So that's the main difference. So I've seen people use these for lots of different examples. I've seen people use their workflows to say your subject removal date on your offer. You put a condition in that you have the right to make sure you have financing up until Wednesday. So you could have 2 days before the conditions date, you get this reminder to make sure that you call the client. Or, the appraisal has been ordered, or the appraisal needs to be ordered, or your conditions have still not been met, or, your first payment date is coming up. So these could be anything that you want. The only difference is a workflow item puts the reminder into your calendar on the appropriate day, and you or somebody at your office is actually doing something. Whereas on the passive CRM, you go in and you set it and you forget it and you never have to worry about it again. Does that make sense? All right, I know I've got you all on hold, so I'm asking you if that makes sense. But meanwhile, none of you can speak to me. You do have the option to raise your hand or to type your questions into the webinar panel. So let's just review, for the sake of people who haven't done this before, how to turn on a campaign. So if you see a campaign under me, CRM campaigns, we give you a bunch out of the box. So I always recommend seeing what's already been created and building off of that instead of starting from scratch, but it's up to you. So basically I would go in and I would find something like the pre-approval campaign, and I would have a look at it first and see if it's what I like. And if it is, then I would do actions and I would make a duplicate of it. So I always recommend editing a copy, and that way you leave the original exactly where it is. So actions, duplicate. and then it will be at the very, very top, and you can tell which ones are the duplicates because they have the little icon there. So then you can go into the duplicated version and say edit. So have a look at the campaign, decide if you like it, decide if the trigger is something that you're happy with, or maybe you want to make an adjustment or two. So you could say, I want this to be 1 day later instead of 0 days. You can see what the other timings look like, and you could say this one after 10 days, I actually want this one to be after 9 days. So you make whatever changes you want to make on any of these pieces here. The next thing you want to check is what all the different templates are. So the templates are these pieces. They're the actual email content, and they each have a name. So this one is called the pre-approval peace of mind. This one is called shopping with confidence. This one is called the best rate guaranteed. So you would go through and preview each of the content pieces and decide if you like the content. You should have images if you haven't messed yours up like I messed mine up. You should have headers at the top, so you have a look to see if you like what you see there, if you want to change the headers or the imagery, if you want to change the actual text, and if you want to change anything in the profile section. So this bottom half here is all done under profile. So then you click save. If you've changed anything, you click save. So the only thing you can change right in here is the dates, the timings, and whether or not you want to remove some of these pieces. You know, maybe you think that 7 communications for pre-approval is too many or not enough. You could always add another step in there as well, and make sure that you save. Everywhere else in Velocity, everything saves automatically. This is the only spot where you need to click save, is when we're talking about CRM templates and workflows. So when that is done, when you've clicked save or you've checked it out and you're happy with it, you want to then start going into your templates and customizing them. So you're going to find the template, and what I would do is I would basically just jot down the names of all of these templates so that I don't have to go back and forth trying to remember what they all were. And then I would go into me and templates. When you go into the templates, you can see them all listed. You can search by name, or you could search by the campaign that you are looking for. So as an example, if I click on the pre-approval, I should see all the templates that are associated with my pre-approval campaign. So that's where you would go into any of these templates that are in here, and you would decide if you were happy with the way that they look or you wanted to make your adjustments. So you could say actions and edit, or again, you can duplicate if you want to make sure that you're not messing up the original. And there you can change the actual heading or the subject line the client will see. You can change the entire text and replace it with something that sounds like it's a genuine email coming from you and not something that is boxed. And then if you don't like the header image, all you do is you just click on this bottom image that's down here, and you can replace it with anything you have of your own. If you have your own header, you go ahead and you can replace that with anything you like, and then you click the save button. So that's basically what I would do. I would go through all of those. I would find any campaigns that looked interesting to me or any templates that looked good before I actually activate them. I would usually go in, I would make a copy, and then I would just make my edits. If I don't want first name, I would rather have last name. I can make changes using this little insert option. So you're inserting templates, and you could say last name. You could say I want to reference, your closing date is on January the 19th, or this is my business phone number, or it can fill in your associate's information. It can reference the purchase price, the down payment, the total mortgage amount, the rates. It has a whole series of insertable fields that would basically go in there. And again, you don't like our image that we give you, you simply click on it and replace it with your own, and then just make sure that you click the save button. All right, so to do a active campaign, to do a workflow item, it's much the same. You would just click on me and workflows, and as I mentioned before, you can create them from scratch by clicking the add button, or you can find one that's pretty close to what you want, and you can simply edit and make whatever kind of changes you would like to make. So this is an example of one that has the email already, the text already in there, but then the great part of it is that when you're doing these workflow items, instead of the email going out always the exact same email every single time, anytime that a workflow item appears in your calendar, when you click on the send email button, it actually gives you the chance to add customized wording in there so that you can refer to, hey, I heard you're almost finished school, or I heard you got a new puppy, or, something that is customizable to your client can go in there before you hit the send button. All right, so that takes us to the end of my complete content. I like to open up the floor to any questions people have at this point in time. Did anyone see anything in here that maybe was not totally clear, or that you'd like to ask any questions about? Any questions on what you can do with automations and with the active style of CRM? All right, well, I hope you saw one or two things in there that interested you today. My main takeaway, if I was going to just summarize everything, is map out your process, map out what your ideal process was. If you had unlimited time in the day and you could spend each and every single one of your clients, you could give them, really top of the line service, how many times would you pick up the phone and call them? How many times would you send a text? Like, how many pieces of the mortgage stage would you notify by text? How many times would you like an email to keep people up to date? If you just kind of sit down for half an hour and lay out your process, if you have any questions about how to actually set up some of these ideas, should I make this one a CRM campaign, or should I make this one a workflow item? Feel free to call me anytime. My contact information is available right on our main website. If you go to newton.ca and click contact, you can always reach me or one of our other trainers. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Thank you so much. I'll hang out here for a few extra minutes in case you're feeling shy and you want to wait till some of the people have signed off before you ask your question. So thanks so much. I'll sign out now. Thanks.